The allegory of the cave, perhaps one of the most well-known metaphors in philosophical history, originates from Plato, that great luminary of ancient Athens. It presents a vivid, almost cinematic depiction of human perception and, ultimately, ignorance. Here's the image. A group of prisoners are chained in a cave, unable to turn their heads, with their line of sight restricted to shadows dancing on the wall in front of them. These shadows, cast by objects passing before a fire behind them, are their only reality, distorted, insubstantial, fleeting. But then imagine one prisoner breaks free, an arduous, painful process, and ascends out of the cave into the dazzling light of the sun. Now, this light, of course, represents a painful confrontation with truth. At first, they're overwhelmed, even blinded, by its intensity. The world outside the cave, rich with form and substance, bears little resemblance to the shadowy illusions they once knew. It's a journey of profound enlightenment, from ignorance to knowledge, from illusion to understanding. What makes this allegory extraordinary is not just its evocative narrative, but its enduring relevance. Today's philosophers, existentialists like Sartre, or phenomenologists like Merleau-Ponty, have reinterpreted Plato's cave to question our relationship with authenticity, with freedom, even our very understanding of identity. It's no longer just about literal shadows on a wall, but the symbolic illusions we craft, through ideologies, media, even technology, constructs that filter and distort our grasp of reality. And isn't that the fascinating bit? Modern critical theorists such as the Frankfurt School, or even more recent scholars like Byung-Chul Han, draw a line from Plato's imagery to our profoundly complex, screen-dominated lives today. In the cave of the digital age, who dictates the shadows? Social media algorithms, political narratives, cultural norms, all competing for dominance. These modern interpreters urge us to ask, are we seeing the world as it is or merely as it's presented? And are we like those prisoners, mistakenly believing shadows to be reality? Then there are those who go further, applying Plato's insights to activism, education, and the quest for critical thinking. The ascent from the cave, that laborious struggle toward understanding, has inspired countless individuals advocating for progress in areas as diverse as human rights and scientific literacy. They propose that to escape the cave in our modern context requires, well, not just knowledge, but a reckoning with the structures that enforce illusion. What Plato's cave offers in the context of our modern lives is not just a striking metaphor for enlightenment, but a kind of blueprint, if you will, for navigating the overwhelming tide of distractions we face every day. Think about it. The prisoners watching shadows, transfixed by these distorted images, are not too dissimilar to us when we scroll endlessly through our screens, consuming curated realities tailor-made to hold our attention. The allegory challenges us to ask, are we breaking free of those chains? Are we actively seeking the light, or are we just sitting comfortably in the dark? And this is where lessons from the cave meet contemporary education. So many of today's teaching frameworks, specifically those that emphasize critical thinking, bear traces of that Platonic principle. This idea that it's not enough to simply acquire knowledge. Real education, Plato would argue, involves a transformation, a profound recalibration of how you perceive the world. And isn't that what critical thinking is fundamentally about? It's a tool, almost a lantern, for helping us see through the noise, the pretense, and the sheer clutter of modern life. Interestingly, you see this concept reflected when we talk about media literacy today. Media literacy is kind of a modern extension of Plato's cave, isn't it? It's designed to teach us not just how to consume information, but to analyse it, question it, even deconstruct it. Take, for example, the oft-discussed spread of misinformation, a term that's become almost a cliché by now. The allegory serves as a poignant reminder. We're not just passive recipients of these shadows, but active participants who must demand clarity, demand truth, even when the process is uncomfortable, even when it forces us to confront our own biases. And to link that with something even broader, isn't there an underlying societal responsibility here? Because this isn't just about the individual's pursuit of enlightenment. It's about the collective effort to build a society that values truth, that values understanding. Plato makes it clear, this journey out of the cave, as enlightening as it is, isn't meant to end there. The philosopher must return. And that, I think, ties directly into our ongoing debates about who owns the truth in our society. Governments, institutions, tech platforms, how do they uphold their roles in fostering this collective enlightenment? Or, in some cases, how do they fail at it? Plato's Allegory, at its heart, carries a deeply political resonance, one that ancient Athens, with its experimental democracy, would have understood perhaps more poignantly than we might today. The philosopher who ascends out of the cave is not meant to remain in the sunlight, basking in enlightenment for its own sake. No, Plato emphasizes their responsibility to return, back into the cave, back into the darkness, to guide those still bound by illusion. And this, I think, presents a remarkable framework for thinking about leadership. Now consider the kind of leaders we hold up as exemplary today. Are they those who seek the light, who question the prevailing narratives, who challenge the status quo? Or are we instead drawn to figures who appeal to comfortable myths, figures who, whether consciously or not, perpetuate shadows rather than illuminating truth? Plato's insight invites a deeper reflection here. Enlightened governance, good governance, is, fundamentally, a philosophical act. Leaders must possess not only knowledge but wisdom, an ability to scrutinize and think critically about the structures they oversee and the people they serve. And let's make this practical for a moment. Take a look at case studies of policymaking over the years. Consider decisions informed by deep inquiry and careful critique, say innovative approaches to climate policy or the overhaul of outdated public health systems. These are examples of leadership grounded in that philosophical ethos, always questioning, always seeking. Now contrast that with instances of governance where leaders have succumbed to blind acceptance, where narratives are shaped by fear or misinformation rather than facts. Whether we're talking about economic crashes or preventable crises, the difference is striking. One fosters progress, the other leaves us in chains beholden to shadows. But this isn't just about those at the top, is it? If anything, Plato's cave demonstrates the necessity of fostering philosophies at the foundation of society, in education, in civic responsibility, in how we engage as citizens. An educated populace, one taught not just what to think but how to think, is the cornerstone of any functioning democracy. And that's where philosophical education really plays its part. Imagine a world where every citizen not only questions the shadows but actively seeks the light. Through programs that emphasize critical thinking, through teaching frameworks that prioritize not rote memorization but intellectual exploration, we can, in essence, create a society of philosopher citizens. And perhaps as we reflect on all of this, we realize that Plato's Allegory is not so much a relic of ancient Athens, but a mirror for our current age. It's a call, urgent, insistent for us, as individuals and as a collective, to strive for more, to demand better. So as we bring our discussion to a close today, let's carry this question with us. In our own lives, in our own societies, are we striving to see the light? Are we prepared, even when it's difficult, to leave our own caves behind? And on that note, thank you for joining me on this thoughtful exploration of Plato's cave and its remarkable relevance in our modern world. It's been a pleasure to walk through these ideas with you. Until next time, take care and keep seeking the light.